What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today we're going to be updating our contribution point video and workers and nodes. Now, as we all know, a couple weeks ago they updated and made gaining contribution points a lot easier through byproducts, and then a couple months ago they made it easier to just level it up in general. So yeah, since I guess last time we made it, we made like about 20 contribution points, and I've updated my nodes. So whether you're a new player or a returning player or just someone who's looking to get into getting more silver throughout your nodes, hopefully this should help you. And I like to organize this just so people can get an idea of what I think are high value nodes, but also I wanted to talk about some of the things that might be coming up in the future. As we all know, alchemy stones are coming up later this month, and then some ingots and iron ores and a lot of ores in generals are going to be going up. So I also adjusted for that one, but also I try to organize this by region. So let's talk about this. Now, if you're a new player and you're looking at this, it's probably very confusing. So the way we're going to be doing it is showing it like this. Now this looks a little bit less confusing. So anyway, all right, let's start in the Balenos region. Now, we have the Olvia Academy coming soon. It actually got delayed until January 21st, assuming there's no more delays. So I assume things might change over here in the near future. We don't know, but you never know. They could probably add or adjust nodes in the future. But anyway, the important stuff is down here in Velia. So, new players, we're going to go pick some of these because they're important. So, first thing I chose in here was probably chicken meat and eggs. These are two very high value nodes because one, chicken meat is used to mass cook the grilled bird meat, these things, and they are used to feed your workers and just let that go over time. But also it's the easiest thing to cook if you want to just get the byproducts and then exchange it for more contribution points. So that's a very high value node, and there's two of them right here by the farm. So chicken meat and eggs. Eggs are also very expensive, and so yeah, double chicken meat egg nodes. And then also the highlights that I would say are in this region are timbers and ores. Now, ores in the future are probably going to be a little bit more expensive because of the alchemy stone change in the future. So having iron, copper, it doesn't really matter what ore, you just want to process them into ingots because endgame players are going to be trying to upgrade their stuff. So ores over here, those are important, but also if you have extra contribution points, timbers are extremely expensive as well, and then spirit leaf. So ores, timbers are what we're going to be looking for over here. And if you want to look, this is what I have. So anything else is just connection, and I would prioritize ores right now, and then chicken meat, eggs, and then timbers, or if you have extras for the region. And so here it is. All right, going down into Serendia, which is Heidel and Glish. It's been the same as the last one, but timbers are generally what's important. But I wanted to show you guys something that in case you're a new player and have no idea. So we have ores like these excavation nodes. Now these aren't there by default, so if you're a new player and you click Glish Ruins, for example, and you don't see this, what you do is go to the node manager and then you talk to them, you pay like 50 energy or something, and then they basically unlock the node for you permanently. Or this one anyway. So Trace of Nature is extremely important, so is Platinum Ore. Trace of Nature is probably one of the biggest things that people who do alchemy will use. Also, they're very expensive. So yeah, these are what they are. It's probably at like an all-time high right now, so that's why it's always a good idea to have nodes running for that whenever you can. Another thing that I think is important is probably things like wheat and then pumpkin if you do alchemy, but also more, timbers if you can around here. So a lot of these things are, probably stuff that if I were to remove anything, it would probably be these, or like the silver azaleas and random stuff. But ultimately, if you're doing alchemy, saps, processing, timbers, and then future-proofing alchemy stones is ores. All right, so going down here is just more timbers. There's two notable ones, I believe. It is here, which is more Trace of Nature and Glish Ruins. All right, going into Calpheon, which is obviously Calpheon City, and then Keplan. I think this Keplan is kind of a node that I would recommend if you have extra contribution points, not new player friendly, simply because it requires a lot of connection to get what you want. And what we want is coal. And coal, obviously, if you iron coal, turns it into steel. And if you know what you're doing with it, then you get that. But aside from that, more copper nodes, and then timber. You just kind of get this one because it's connected to this. You have to go to full connection from Keplan all the way over here to get it. So it's one of those things just on the path. And then one thing I changed as of last time was I got one of the things in Ores Pass, which is cedar timber, a high value node. But it's also like you already have to have a connection somewhere. It's kind of like in the middle. So if you have it, this is a nice one to have. Otherwise, you can connect it going upwards as well. Calpheon, there's a lot of timbers over here, just in all these important nodes. I should probably put a lead ore on just going into the future, but you know, it's like I'll get it when I get it. It's not super big deal. Over here, paprika, wheat, and barley. These are also equivalent of chicken meat in a way. They make beer, and it is also an expensive node as well. So having these, you could either sell them or you can cook them, which this is realistically one of the only materials you need. And then you buy the other 3 from the vendor, so it's like unlimited supply essentially. And then you make beer, and then you get the byproducts and you exchange it for contribution points. So that's why I have them. It's not necessarily that I use it, it's more contribution boosting in a way over time. So yeah, that's about it. Any ores that you can get over here is generally pretty good. I actually took off some nodes. So if you guys have been playing for multiple years, then you guys know a lot of these nodes were used for dried seafood or like fish and stuff. Now, back in the day, you actually had to make pet food yourself because it was always sold out on the market. Nowadays, you could just buy it off the market, so it's not a big deal. But back in the day when they had it, this is like all the leftover dried fish I had from nodes running over time. But if you wanted to, the high value nodes would probably be octopus and pintados and mau-maus. Those are the ones used for the good feed or pet food. So yeah, that's about it. I don't really have anything connected anymore, but those are the ones you would go for. Going down into Trent, this is a very high value area. However, it is kind of expensive. So it's not like a new player friendly node connection. And it's kind of one of those things you get because you need something, not because you're just copying someone else. So down here, you got, going down, we have pine timber, fir timber. This is a high value one. Cedar, very high, and white cedar is also, I mean, on the way. So a lot of these are very expensive, and cedar sap is one of those things that people don't like gathering, so it's good to have the node starting up early on. And so I have that connected, plus some ores. It all just kind of connects here in general. So yeah, this is a very high value connection, especially going into the future. So just keep that in mind. You kind of have to know what you're doing with it, not just like, I'm just collecting it to sell it on the market. I mean, you could do that too, but most of the time you're going to be using it. So down in Trent, connecting all of these, and then Bear, quite honestly, the only thing I have here is going for pine timbers and saps. That was when I was using pine saps more than I was or currently am. But I mean, saps are always very high value if you craft harmony elixirs and everything else. So it's kind of an end game thing, but that's what I have. All right, next we're going into Grana, which is the Kamasylvia area. The only thing I really have connected is Tooth Fairy Forest, which we have an excavation node. I try to get as many excavation nodes as I can because Trace of Nature is just very expensive, and it is a bottleneck for literally everyone. So that's what I have here, and quite honestly, that's it. And Kamasylvia, unfortunately, doesn't really have too many good nodes. It has some ores, but then like you can get ores for cheaper doing other spots as well. So it's one of those things where there's a lot of mushrooms and stuff, but until you need it, it's not important. Okay, so going down into Odraxia, this one is actually kind of interesting and pretty decent. So first of all, Thornwood sap is pretty expensive if you are an alchemist and do a lot of potion crafting, elixirs, get a lot of Thornwood timbers, and I believe more saps if you use them. Down by Narcion, you know how we talked about chicken meat and eggs, always get that one, more contribution for the future. And if you do any cooking, grapes and potatoes, always good, but you could buy them from a vendor, but I just kind of don't want to do that, so we have that. Fun node over here is Olin's Valley. Now, I have this for both nickel and mithril. I am convinced this node for mithril is actually pretty bad. Like, you don't get it, but you get a lot of nickel here, which is a very high value ore. So that's why you should have both of these nodes running regardless. And then going up into here, up into the connection to Duvencrune, we have Crypt of Resting Thoughts from Massive Pure Magic and Trace of Nature. I don't need Massive Pure Magics anymore, but Trace of Nature is always good. And then more Thornwood, Sap, and Timber. This one is connected to Duvencrune, but Cult Canyon, you know how we were talking about ores and mithril? So you want these double nodes and then more mithril over here. So to give you an idea, I have like 800 mithril over here. But in Duvencrune, we have like 20,000. And these are pretty high value. So if you want mithril, I'd recommend connecting these three or like these two nodes from Duvencrune to connect them if you wanted to. So yeah, no, that's pretty dark. So to give you an idea, this is what it just looks like from Shuriken down. Aside from that, those are like the high important ones, but we do have all this connected down. This, I will say, Thuja Sap, I made a video talking about this in my best gathering spots. Thuja timbers and saps are very high value, but it's annoying to gather. That's why I have this one connected very specifically. Even if it's like, what, like a 7 or 8 point contribution point connection, it's just because I don't like gathering it. So it's like one of those things that I would rather have the node collect it for me, even if it's a little bit slower. So this one is like if you are using it in very particular for yourself instead of just selling it, this is what I have connected. Mountain of Eternal Winter, Eilton. All these nodes are actually pretty good. Jade Starlight Forest, I had this back when I was grinding for the Libresca helmet. Rough Jade is expensive. Cedar Saps and Timbers are both very high value. I believe if you were to only connect anything, it would be Jade Starlight Forest. This one is another excavation. Quartz does not sell for anything, and that's about it. Aside from that, Timbers and Monk's Branch, high value. So yeah, these are very expensive, and Snowfield Cedar sells for a lot. You know why? Because it's used for a lot of things. And Snowfield Cedar Timbers, just very high value node in general. So that's all I have connected. I used to have something here for the Citrons, and I just figured I don't really use it as much, but I also think this one is a solid one. Okay, going down into Ulukita, we have more Trace of Natures, a double excavation node, high value. Copper and iron, more ores for the future. It will come in handy later on. And then pine, and then more timbers from here. So white cedar, regular cedar. I think I actually have these. Let me see. Where do I have them sent? I'm pretty sure it's like Heidel or something. Or is it over here? Yeah, I probably have them sent to Heidel just because it's organization. But this node and these over here are important, along with excavation. I would say Tungrad Ruins is very important. And then any ores if you need extras. Okay, so going into Tarif and splitting it into Altinova. So let's give you a point. I would say anything from Mediah Shore going down, these 4 connections, anything to the left of it is Tarif connected. Anything to the right of that here is probably Altinova connected. Not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that's how I set it up. All right, so the ones that I think are important are Omar Lava Cave, because we talked about needing coal in the future, or just coal in general. Zinc ore and platinum, very important. Realistically, I don't think there are too many Tarif nodes that I think are important, but some notable ones are maple sap and maple timber. Same with white cedar, timber, and sap, always important. Another excavation node over here. Zinc, high value, and a lot of these are just kind of things that I would personally use, but not necessarily required. So to give you an idea, this is what I have. A lot of coal. I do use iron, and then a lot of timbers, and more of all this stuff. Altinova connected. Zinc and iron. And a bunch of all of these over here. You know what's funny is I have all these elder tree timbers connected, but it's not super important. I'm turning them into trade crates, like 1.7 million, and that's doing 24/7 trade crates, and I'm doing it through 3 towns, just trying to slowly level up. It's not necessarily for profit, but it's leveling up trading, the dead life skill. And so I have those. So I think one day if they ever bring back trading, I hope I'm ready, like Guru at least 1. So it would be a nice video for the future. It's just kind of a long-term thing, not necessarily profit. This one I have purified water. You can buy purified water from the vendor at Sandgrain or off the central market. I just don't want to do either, so I just have a node working on that for when I do alchemy for that in the future. Down at Pilgrim's Haven, down at Sandgrain, we have more iron ore, and then gonna be honest, don't really know why I have cactus node. I think I used it at one point, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. So I have no idea what I'm using this for, but I have a lot of these cactus things going on, so maybe they'll come up with a funny node or something recipe in the future, but until then, it's just going on, and I have no idea what it's for. All right, going down into Valencia, or I guess Arehaza, we have Gavinia Volcano Zone for titanium and vanadium. These are just kind of like pretty decently valued nodes. I used to have it more in particular for making Monos accessories, but now those have crashed since pre-owned exists now. So I guess you could always turn it into like ingots or, you know, vanadium crystals and sell those, but I don't think it's profit, or if it is, it's very minimal. But either way, just kind of have these for, you know, like, they're not bad nodes, they're just slow, and I guess if you sell them, it's pretty good. But one of those things that I wouldn't really recommend it unless you know what you're doing with it. Okay, so Edania. The only real node worth connecting to in Edania is probably the ancient ruins. Why I have Tenebrom, I believe it was because I was grinding there, and yeah, I have Tenebrom connected literally just for the node, and like you know how it gives drop rate when you grind there? I think that was literally it. Aside from that, you don't need this. This one for Elder Tree Timber, you don't need that one. Edania, this is the only thing that's important in the region. Cappers, Tree Timber, and Sap, these are obviously new and exclusive to the zone, so this is the only one worth it. I could probably get rid of these, to be honest. I don't really even grind Tenebrom. I grind Zephyros. Then over here, we got an excavation node for Trace of Nature. So this one, and then Ancient Ruins, realistically the only ones you need. You could probably take out Tenebrom if you don't grind there. That's what I would do. And then I have a connection from Velia all the way to Morning Light, from here into, I guess, this node over here, mostly for trade connection, for like fishing and whatnot. You get trade experience and money based on connected. So yeah, down, let's break this up into Morning Light Part 1 and 2. So this entire area, the right side, is Morning Light Part 1, and then this one is Part 2. So the ones you want for Part 1 are the ones that give, obviously, excavation, but also the crystals in case you need it. So to give you an idea what it looks like for me, see all these crystals over here, just in case you need harmonies or life skill crystals or decimation. These two are relevant, by the way. But yeah, decimation, life skill, harmonies are always good. Should get those going on. And then aside from that, anything with like excavation is always good. A lot of trace of natures. If you're going for the Morning Light boat, the pier is the one where you get the blueprints over here. And then more excavation. So I think there's like 4 or 5 excavations in Part 1. Part 2, connected from either of these two. Basically all of them going up, and a lot of ores in general. Ores, timbers, and yeah, I think that's it. Ores and timbers, like we talked about before, always good. That's what I have connected. And I think that's it going down into, let me see, we talked about that. Yeah, pretty sure that's all the nodes for every region. I think the most important ones that I'll get are probably Balenos, Serendia. Maybe down in Odraxia. Eilton, Mountain of Eternal Winter. And I guess if you got to Edania, some of these are important. But Morning Light definitely has a bunch of excavations and they're good. So that's about it.